Hey there, it's Kat, and this is Brews and Reviews. In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about all the books that I'm planning to read in April. Throughout April, I'm planning to take part in 2 readathons, the Aurelium Academy Magical Readathon, and that's hosted by G from Book Roast, and I'm also hoping to take part in Assassins in April, which is hosted by Kristen from Kristen is Fully Booked. On top of that, I'm also going to be taking part in a readathon for a book that has intimidated me rather a lot for over a year now. And I'm also going to be reading some other books that are just on my TBR. I may be overambitious in my planning for what I could read throughout April, but I found that my planning for reading a lot in March really helped me to actually succeed in my goals. So I'm kind of like, pressure. I'll put the pressure on me, but also not too much pressure, but enough pressure to make me read. So we'll see how that goes. So the first book I know I'm going to be reading in April is Ink Death by Cornelia Funk, because I'm already reading it. I'm buddy reading it with Faye for a mystery date with a book, and when April starts we will have about the last quarter of this book to go, so finishing this off will be great. There's still like 175 pages, so it's still going to take up some time in April, but you know, it's going to be good. Now let's talk about the read-along that I'm taking part in, which is probably the only thing that will ever manage to push me to read this book that I also put on my 30 books to read before 30 list and have just still been procrastinating because, oh my god, it's so huge that I look at it and it makes me sad. The Stand By Me read-along, hosted by Paige from Pages with Paige and Crystal from Bomb Book Reviews, is a read-along for The Stand by Stephen King, the biggest book that I have on my shelves. It's about 1,300 pages. But the way that they're breaking it down is that you can either do it where you read 40 pages a day and it takes the whole month, or it takes half the month and you read 80 pages per day. It could help. It might help. I need to pick this up. It's so huge and I've been procrastinating it, and the only way I'm going to read it is if I read it with people, and I feel like this could really help. So this intimidating chunk is definitely on my TBR for April. And honestly, if this is the only book that I actually managed to get through in April, which let's hope it's not, because otherwise this TBR is going to be completely pointless, I will be satisfied with my reading for the month. God, I hope I like it. This is a huge commitment in case I don't like it. No. Let's take that thought and throw it in the bin, because I'm going to like this book, it's going to be good, and I'm going to feel accomplished when it's done. Next up, I want to go through the Assassins in April books that I'm planning to read, because that is a week-long readathon, and the Aurelium readathon goes throughout the month. And some of those books will apply, but this one's smaller, so I want to go through it first. So the idea of the Assassins in April readathon is to read books about assassins in April. And there are bonus prompts as well, and there is a giveaway to be entered. But I'm kind of just doing this because it turns out I've been procrastinating reading a lot of books that are about assassins, and I don't know why. So the first book on this list is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I have never read a Robin Hobb book, and it seems like there are so many series that have been written that just sound so good, and this is like the first one to read. I'm pretty sure this is about a young boy who is a bastard to a prince, and they decide to train him as an assassin to sort of get him out of the way. I know that this character pops up throughout other series as well, and I'm just intrigued. And it's quite short as well, so I feel like I can get this done. I'm very excited to actually see what I think of Robin Hobb's work, because it feels like an untapped vein of fantasy for me, and it's about time that I dove in. The next book that I'm planning to read for Assassins in April is Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. So this is, I believe, about assassin nuns with magical powers, and they can do stuff. I don't know anything else about it apart from that, and I'm intrigued. And it's about time that I finally read this, because I had this on audiobook. I feel like I should be able to get through it quite quickly. What I have read of Mark Lawrence's work, I've found alright. I quite enjoyed it. I'm just trying to remember back to The Prince of Thorns, because that was a while ago since I read that series. But I'm hoping that I enjoy Red Sister, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he sort of deals with like female main characters as opposed to male main characters. It could be interesting. Next up, I'm planning to read The Wind and the Void by Ryan Kirk. This is the 3rd book in the Nightblade trilogy. I think it's only a trilogy. So technically I think this is the last book in the series, and that's why I want to read it. I want a conclusion to the interesting assassin-y things that have been happening. Technically Nightblades are assassins and have been used as assassins, but they're not always assassins. But I'm counting it because there is definitely some assassin things that happen in this series and this book, and I reckon more assassination will happen in this book. I'm so trying not to spoil anything that happens, but somebody's definitely getting assassinated in this book. I feel it. So I'm really interested to pick this one up and have sort of a resolution to what has been happening, and hopefully I will like it. So the next book I'm going to talk about is kind of dependent on whether I can convince Kayla from Kraken to a good book to buddy read this with me during the week of Assassins in April, and the book that I'm talking about is Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. BookTube used to be kind of obsessed with the Revenant Chronicles, and then I feel like everyone stopped talking about it. This book is about a princess who flees her wedding day, and she's being pursued by two men, a prince and an assassin, and you don't know which one is which when they're chasing her, and you don't find out until the end. So I'm intrigued, I want to know, gonna read it, maybe. I was also tempted to try and include Queen of Shadows by Sarah J Maas on this list, but I am currently doing an A Court of Thorns and Roses reread at the moment, and I kind of don't want to mix them up in my head, so I'm like one Sarah J Maas series at a time, even though I'm doing the one that I'm rereading rather than the one that I still have books to read in, but it's fine, it's fine. So those are all the books that I'm planning to read from the 16th until the 23rd of April, so hopefully I can get all of those done. That may be a bit ambitious. I think I'm quite busy that week as well, but that's beside the point. We're going to push ourselves. I'm going to see how everything goes. So you know how it already seems like I'm being pretty ambitious with my plans for this month? Well, it only gets worse when I start talking about the Aurelian Readathon, because the aim for this part of the readathon is that you will pick a calling and you read the particular subjects that will help you get to that calling. I decided to not quite do that, in that I have picked a calling. The calling I picked was the Dreamwalker's calling, and I've got a specific TBR picked out for that. But I kind of just thought, wouldn't it be fun if I just read all of the prompts? Like, all of the subjects, like I was being an overachiever, which is technically what I'm trying to do now. I doubt it will happen, so technically I'll probably just read the stuff for the Dreamwalker career path, but we'll see. So one of the main considerations that I had when I was picking out this TBR was that I wanted to read some of the Kindle Unlimited books that I have on my Kindle, because I have the max number of Kindle Unlimited books that I can have out at the moment, and anytime that I find a new book on Kindle Unlimited and I want to take it out, I can't, because I haven't read any of the ones that I've got, so I've got nothing to return. So I need to actually read some of them before I can, let my obsession with, like, TikTok swaying my choices snowball out again. So I need to read some of these. That was a major consideration when I was choosing this TBR. So let's get into it. So I'm just going to run through the subjects alphabetically, and we'll talk about what I'm going to read for them, if I manage to read things for them. So first up is Alchemy, and for this you need to read a book with romance in it, and I've kind of left this one as an open-ended free space, because so many books that I want to read can be romancy, and I just feel like I'll give myself a mood reading space, because I can pretty much fill anything into that gap. And I'm not going to assign anything to it just yet, just in case I want to mood read something at any point in the month. The next prompt is Animal Studies, and for that you have to read a quick read, and I thought a really quick read would be Hot Vampire Next Door by Nikki St. Crow. And yeah, I thought this one was going to be pretty quick. I think it's under 150 pages long. I read the first book in like an hour and a half, I think, and I really enjoyed it. I sped right through it, so I feel like it's kind of the perfect choice for this prompt. The next prompt is The Art of Illusion, and for this one you have to read a book containing a trope you like. And again, this is the only other prompt that I've done this for. I left this one open-ended, kind of to suit my mood reading patterns, and we'll just roll with it. Hopefully I can find a trope that I like in whatever I'm planning to read and can just fill this space. The next prompt is Astronomy, and for this one you have to pick a book from the top of your TBR. I thought very literally about this and went to my 2022 physical TBR list, and the very top book on that list was Unravel the Dusk by Elizabeth Lim, and this is one that I've been meaning to get to, and I really want to get to before I forget the plot of the first one and then have to reread it before I can read this one. Plus I finish off the duology if I read this book, so it just seems like the right choice. It is at the top of the list, the top of a specific TBR that I've got, so I'm gonna read this one and hopefully I enjoy it. I can't really say too much about the plot of this one, but the first book is Spin the Dawn, but that book revolves around a competition to find the Emperor's next tailor, and the main character dresses up as her brother to enter this competition. It's way more than a competition book, but I feel like that's a good start point. The next prompt is Conjuration, so for this you have to read a book that has a light source on the cover. And for this one I'm planning to read Killer Candy by Holly Bloom. I think this is like a dark romance. I don't really know much else about it, but I follow the author on TikTok and she keeps posting these like snippets of text from the book that keep making me think, yeah, you should read that. So I'm gonna read that. I also have a second choice for this one in case I am not in the mood for it, or in case I needed like an audiobook replacement for this one, and that is Vale by Lynette Noni. This is book 4 in the Arcane series, and I just finished book 3 in this series, and it hit me at the end, and I've finally become super invested in this series because of the inclusion of a certain character that I can't spoil anything about, but like, because of this character I'm so invested and I need to read the next one, so it's very likely that I will pick up Vale at some point in this month, regardless of anything else. Killer Candy may move to like romance for all I know, but who knows. The next prompt is demonology, and for this prompt you have to read a book with the word shadows in the title. And for this one I'm going to be reading King of Shadows by Amelia Wilde. As you can probably tell by the cover of this book, it is a dark romance. I actually think, turns out that it is a Hades Persephone retelling. I'm gonna say it is because I haven't actually read the synopsis since I bought this book many moons ago, and it seems that the main characters are called Hades and Persephone, so we're gonna say that it's most likely a Hades and Persephone retelling, so it's gonna have features that I like in it, and it's got the word shadow in the title, so this is what I'm gonna read for this prompt. I really hope I like it, but I mean, who knows? When I don't read the plot for dark romance books, sometimes they are very hit or miss. More likely on the miss side, but we'll see. The next prompt is Elemental Studies, and to complete this prompt you have to read a book that is under 100 pages. Now this was a surprisingly hard prompt to fill, but it did turn out that I have a very short book on my Kindle called Into the Shadowlands by Isabella Lauren, and I believe this book is about Fae, and that is all I know about it. Again, this is TikTok's fault that I have this book. TikTok is so responsible for many of my ebook purchases or Kindle Unlimited borrowings, and it's a problem, but also this month it gave me choices, so. The next prompt is Spells and Incantations, and for that one you have to read either a short story or essays. And there was no way that I was going to read essays because non-fiction and me, we do not just get along. So I'm going to read a collection of short stories called Crave by Miranda Silva. This is like a sort of sequel companion short story collection to Priceless by Miranda Silva, which I read last year and really enjoyed. I really like the writing and I really like the characters in that series, so I am really excited to finally see what is going on in the rest of their lives after this, so hopefully it's good. The next book on this list is Artificiary, which is not a word that I can say properly, I don't think, and to complete this prompt you have to read a book that has a setting on Earth. And for that one I'm going to be reading 50/50 by Steve Cavanaugh. This book was actually sent to me by Helen from Helen's Bookhaven, and I'm really excited to finally get to it because I do like Steve Cavanaugh, and this is sort of a standalone thriller about two sisters ringing up the police. Both of them say that the other one murdered their dad, and it's trying to figure out who did the murdering, I guess. So hopefully it'll be good. It's very short, it's a thriller. I feel like it will be a good counter to a lot of the other things that I'm reading in the month. So yeah, it's gonna be good. I hope. The next prompt is Inscription, and for that you have to read an intimidating book. Well, finally a time where I can double up on some prompts. The Stand by Stephen King. This is getting read at some point in this month. So help me, it's getting read. It made sense to put this as this prompt because I can't think of anything more intimidating than this. It's so chunky, it hurts me, but I'm gonna read it. The next prompt is Lore, and to complete that prompt I need to read something that is mythology based. And for this one I'm planning to read A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. That again is dependent on whether I can convince Kayla from Cracking to a Good Book to read this book with me, because we have this long list of buddy reads and we just like pick from them randomly, and these two books that I've mentioned in this video are both on that list, so maybe she will be happy to read these. But I do have a backup plan for that. I am doing a buddy read with my friends Joe and Simone who on BookTube, and we are making our way through the ACOTAR series, and next month we will be reading A Court of Mist and Fury, which is, I believe, loosely Hades and Persephone based, and I'm just going with it because that's all I've got. Turns out I don't have very many mythology based books at this point in time. Although obviously I did just find out that King of Shadows may be mythology based, and maybe I can switch something up and put something in there. We will wait and see what actually happens. A lot of these could be switched up anyway, because who knows, I am not great at sticking to TBRs, even though I make these elaborate videos to try and make myself stick to them. Whether I actually stick to them or not is very up in the air. The next subject prompt is psionics and divination, and to complete this prompt you have to read something that is set in the future. And for that one I'm going to be reading Storm of Locusts by Rebecca Rowanhorse, and this is the sequel to Trail of Lightning, and it's the Sixth World dystopian books, and it is set in the future because it's our world, but like lots of it's flooded and there's gods and stuff, but loosely enough I'm saying it's set in the future, and I'm going to read it because I really want to read it before I forget what happened in the first one, and I am excited, so this is on the list. The next prompt is Restoration, and to complete this prompt you have to read a book featuring healers, and for that one I'm going to read The Wind and the Void by Ryan Kirk. There are healers that do appear in this series. I'm hoping that they will appear in this book. For some reason it was really hard to like go, oh, there's definitely going to be a healer in this book. I think there's going to be healers in this book, so I'm going with it. And the last subject prompt is Shapeshifting, and to complete this prompt you have to read a book with a creature with claws on the cover. So for that one I'm going to be reading Erased Certainty, which is the sequel to Nefarious Betrayal by Leah Steele, both by Leah Steele. It's a shifter romance book, and the first book had some issues, but I was kind of interested to see where this second book would go, because like it was interesting. The main character just spent the most of the book unconscious, and I would like to see her awake to see what she does with the whole thing and dealing with the consequences of the things that happened in the first book. So again, this is another Kindle Unlimited one that I wanted to read. There's probably about 5 of those on this list, so hopefully I will get through them. So those are all the books that I'm planning to read to cover all of the list of subjects, prompts for the Aurelian Readathon, but technically I only actually have to read Astronomy, Alchemy, Art of Illusion, Spells and Incantations, Psionics and Divination, Conjuration and Law to pass the Dreamwalker subject course thing. So hopefully I can at least do that. Now I did say that I was going to be reading some other books. Obviously I've already talked about Ink Death. Whether or not it comes under the prompt for the Aurelian Readathon, I'm also definitely going to be reading A Court of Mist and Fury during April. I also really want to read Days of Blood and Starlight, which I think is the second book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. For some reason the second and third books names sound really similar to me and I just get them confused. So this may or may not be the second book, but I'm going to be reading the second book if I can. I realise, very overambitious, being a little bit intense with what I'm planning to read in April, but who knows, maybe I can do it. Do you have faith in me? I am going to try and have faith in myself, potentially. I mean, it would be great if I could read these. I don't know how much time I'm going to have. I think quite a lot of these are reasonably short books. There are quite a lot of them that are under 3 pages? They're not under 3 pages. I don't think I can count those as books. So I think a lot of them are under 300 pages long, and hopefully that will help with the quantity that I'm planning to read. Obviously the Stand is a big chunk. Even Akamath is about 700 pages long, I think. So it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a good time. I'm gonna enjoy it and I'm gonna do my best. So if you made it this far into the video, please leave me a weapon emoji, because assassins use weapons. I'm going to be reading a lot about assassins. And tell me which book that you think that I should prioritise from this list. I would really enjoy hearing which ones that you think that I should read first, and which ones that you think maybe I should leave in the dust if I am not quite going to make it. So if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!